Hello, everybody. This is Brother Mike, and I'm glad to be with you once again in my series of videos. And this one here is relating to this current problem that we have between the police and the citizens. Where we have these heinous murders that are occurring around the country uh, far too frequently, involving the police and African American men. And as everybody knows, unless you've been hiding under a rock, we had two hideous examples of this problem displayed to us very graphically in Louisiana and St. Paul, Minnesota, in close proximity to one another, which precipitated a outcry from people all over the country. And in Dallas, unfortunately, there was just a deranged individual with superior marksmanship abilities who decided he was going to go shoot as many police as he possibly could, and his kill ratio was right up there, in proportion to the number of shots that were fired. But anyway, I've been thinking about this, and I was thinking about it this morning. And I say to myself, how does this stuff begin? What are the components of this problem? And I always go to God, because God is the possessor of all. He promised He'd share it with us, And maybe if I meditate on this, God will give me some kind of a message, and He did, And then I became really compelled, inside of my own mind, to share the message with other people. But how often do you get an opportunity to do that? Well, I'm downtown in the great city of Worcester, where I live, Worcester, Massachusetts, which has its own issues with the police that elucidated upon in greater detail in some of my other videos that you can watch, And these two girls approached me, and they were from the local, uh, cable TV network, and they were doing an interview on this very subject, so I was able to share it with them, and I was glad that I did. Then, the reason I'm doing this video now is because I want to share it with you, and, if you really look at this problem, this is not a new phenomenon. This has been going on ever since there has been the law, because really at the bottom of this is this dichotomy that exists between the law and people loving one another. The reason why you have the law and you obligate people to these laws is because you're regulating their behavior in some way, And as I've said before, you can judge the lovelessness in a society by the number of laws that they require their people to obey. And here in America, we have a abundance of laws and regulations and policy statements that we are obligated to adhere to the point where you can't get from one end of the day to the other without breaking some kind of law. You know what I mean? And we're slaves to it. And what happens when you put your fixation upon the law, and when you're living in a society where the law is so required, because of the lack of love between people, because, where there is no love, there's the law. Okay? Go all the way back to the days of the ancient Jews, when they were under Roman occupation, and they had a belief system that was based upon the law. Okay? And incidentally, I mean, when Moses came down from the hill, he carried 10 commandments, which was all humanity needed to relate to God and to one another in a harmonious way, By the time Jesus Christ came, these Jewish people had ballooned that number to like 1,000. They had a law for how you're supposed. So if you didn't wash your hands a certain way, you were guilty of the law. You know, and
the thing about uh, that method of employing the law, in a religious fashion in a social setting is that the law becomes more important than the people it's supposed to be designed to serve. Okay, the law takes precedent over the people. And back in those days, yes, it did. I mean, here comes the messenger, Jesus Christ. He's preaching love. This is a part of that dichotomy. We see, but these Jews uh, were so fixated on the law that they saw him as a threat to the law. And in order to perpetuate the law, what they do? They crucified him. And that ethos, that method of law enforcement and government relating to the population, who don't conform to their image and stereotypes, uh, endures to this day. And the victims, for some reason, are primarily African American men. And this is driven by these stereotypes that these police have, and this is what happens. The law kills. Love generates life. You know, and we have a age-old conflict that has resurfaced and manifested itself as police on African American men, using brutal tactics to repress them because of these stereotypical beliefs that they have about them. And then the population has begins to form stereotypical perceptions of the police, because all of them are not bad. We need the police. Back in the olden days, they said, hey, if you don't trust the police, next time you're in trouble, call a hippie. See what you're gonna get. We need these guys, but there's some bad ones. And what they need to do, because these people operate in a loveless world, is they need to make sure they get their heads examined about every 6 months. I used to have a nice Bulliver watch. Every year I used to have to take it to the watch guy and have him send it to Chicago and to get cleaned. And these guys need to have their clocks cleaned about every 6 months. That's one thing I think that can really be helpful, because there is no doubting that these people operate in not only a loveless world but a violent world. You know what I mean? And it has an impact on them psychologically. Now the other thing that we need to do is we need to fight these police unions, because some of these police unions, they represent their police officers. Maybe there isn't a loss of life in a particular civil case involving police brutality, and there's a settlement, a substantial settlement, but that police officer is right back on the street. He's on the street during the course of the whole matter. Maybe they send him home for a couple of weeks or something like that, because these unions are so powerful. They protect these bad officers. We need to get them out of there at the root. As soon as they screw up, bye bye. It's the same theory that they employ with juveniles. They see a little truancy going on, they jump all over this kid because truancy leads to delinquency. Yeah, and they want to prevent that child from becoming a delinquent and solve whatever the issue is while the child's a truant. And they need to do the same thing with these police. When they start manifesting these kind of behaviors and they start getting themselves in trouble, they need to get rid of them. So anyway, this is Brother Mike, and yeah, I'm glad that I can share that with you. But if I can conclude, what I would say is, I'm looking out at this big old world here, and on my computer and through the paper, I'm just seeing all these horrible things, and all this discord, in America, and the disrespect of people's constitutional rights by the authorities and the overt chicanery and trickery that our leaders employ, to get what they want to benefit their corporate contributors at our expense. This kind of stuff has got to stop, you know. But in my little world, the only thing that I can really do is I can try to love everybody that I see. You know what I mean? When I walk out of the door, as soon as I hit my first person, man, I want to show them that I love them. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get crazy about it, or anything like that. But I don't want to hinder or harm anybody. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best thing each one of us can do as individuals is to really practice love. Because let me tell you something, if we love one another, we wouldn't need police. If we love one another, we wouldn't even need courts. Yes, it's fantastic. It's so I can barely attribute any kind of credibility to it. But hey, guess what? Sometimes it's that simple.
You just got to be loving on the people that you come in contact with, And then if enough of us did it, the world will be a better place and we wouldn't need all these cops. So thank you for letting me ramble on here. I want to thank you for telling people about these videos because I like to have my numbers look decent on these things. So if you could, either subscribe to my channel or tell people about the video, okay? But God bless you and have a great day.